Hello and welcome to the Rugby Report Lasses podcast in association with Sunderland Community Soup Kitchen and Her Game 2, the campaign against sexism and misogyny in football. My name is Rich, and as Science by Big Fat Big fades away, I'm going to tell you about the really interesting podcast that we've got coming up ahead of Sunderland's trip to Southampton on Sunday, which you can watch on the FA Player live if you're unable to get down to St Mary's Stadium for it. We're going to speak to Jude from the All Saints podcast, the Southampton Women's FC podcast, and before that though, we've got a fantastic exclusive interview with Sunderland AFC Women's brand new full-time assistant head coach, STEPH LIBBEY. So let's hear from STEPH right now. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, STEPH.
No, you're very welcome. I'm looking forward to sharing what's going on within the club and some of the news that hopefully we can share and celebrate together.
Brilliant. It has been a big week for you, really, and with the announcement that you've gone full time. My first question was, obviously you're a coach. You've been coaching in women's football for a good while now. Why do you love coaching so much? Because there's lots of people out there listening who will be coaches or do little bits of coaching themselves. And then how difficult was it for you to take that decision to kind of leave teaching and go kind of full time?
First and foremost, there's a love of the game that's kind of deep rooted. Since I can remember, I was going to watch my dad play, and then joined the boys team as everybody did back in the day, and fell in love with the game in that sense. And then throughout my time playing and also through my coaching, I've always had kind of leadership roles, and that's kind of then steered me towards the coaching. And those organisations have also helped nurture me to want to do more. And from that, I took that step into coaching when I was really young. I was 17 when I first started on that journey, and for a good number of years now I've been learning my craft, kind of doing it grassroots right from the get-go, then into kind of Centre of Excellence football, into the Development League within the WSL when that first started, and then in the past 5 to 6 years within the Championship. And I love it. I don't think there's a better feeling than seeing something that you've been working on come to fruition, really, whether that be links to the game or links to people, the game plan coming off, or player development, or those connections with people that you haven't seen in years that remember the things that you did for them. And there's no better feeling than that as a coach. And to answer the second question, I think change is always difficult. I don't think that comes easy to anybody. And if I might be wrong in thinking that, some people might love it, but a lot of people I know don't. But for a long time, I've had to divide my energies a lot with teaching and football, and now feels right to devote my time to one. Wasn't always going to be football, I'm not going to lie. I think I'm really passionate about football within the North East, and this project and being the best I can be for Sunderland Football Club. And that comes from the top. And if we're wanting players to believe that, I think we've got to lead that from the front. And that's why that decision, when it was put to me, was the right one to make.
That's really encouraging. It does bring us on to the second question I've got, really, which is about that, I guess, the project that you just mentioned and that ambition and what your kind of short-term ambitions are and your long-term ambitions, I guess, for the club and that project that was sold to you, because it must have been sold to you to leave a really good career that you had in teaching, or leave it for now.
Yeah, I think that's, you alluded to it. I can always go back if I want to, and I've come from a trust, a multi-academy trust, that I've got really good connections with people and some of the leaders there that have always said I'm welcome back with open arms. So I know that's there, and the risk then is kind of alleviated in some form, but there is always an element of risk. But yeah, the short term, I think for me is on the pitch, to find that rhythm, to make an impact within the league and to be a really strong championship team. Off the pitch, the community engagement and making strong partnerships and supporting the really good pathway that we clearly have at Sunderland. And the long term is what kind of brought me here in the first place, if I'm honest, when I had the initial conversations with Mel, is to grow at the same rate as the men. That both teams are teams that the fans and the area can be really proud of, and increasing our attendances through that and making Appleton somewhere that people want to come and have a really good experience.
Yeah, it's really good that you've got those kind of both on the pitch and off the pitch ambitions, because it's people like yourself, it's the coaches really who make that and who set that tone, and I think that's really really interesting. And obviously you came from Durham, brilliant club just up the road, our rivals, but kind of half friendly rivals. But I was wondering, are there any other clubs out there in England or elsewhere really that you and the coaching staff and maybe the rest of the club look at and think, yeah, we want to learn the lessons and kind of follow that kind of path? And what are the kind of things that you look elsewhere and notice and want to learn from them?
We're our own brand, and we want our own style and our own identity, and that links with some of the values that go behind the club that have been built from the top. The bold, creative and industrious side of the football club and the history that then that comes from. You know, we can take a lot from those that are in this building, and I'm really excited to come in full time and to call this my place of work full time now. The experience and the specialists that are part of this football club and the different domains that I know Alex has mentioned previously. And now we're fully integrated into the academy. We have these world-class facilities that we've got people that we can tap into, and things such as the Okalu and Sam, he supports our individual development programmes, nutrition, analysis, data. There's so much support here that, you know, that one club, our club mantra is very visible. We're also been really lucky, me and Mel, that we've been able to learn from others and other sports, as we've been part of the Coaching Excellence Initiative run by the FA for the past 2 years, which came about from the professionalism within the game and the rapid growth that we're seeing. The groups consisted of female and male coaches within the women's pro game with club and international backgrounds to support the creation of high performance environments and cultures, and that's something that we're really passionate about here, and hopefully that will set us aside from others. Within the programme, we've had the chance to focus on the football, building networks with good people and looking at the importance of keeping in touch with the current trends, the challenges that we face within the game, the styles of play, because the game is the same, but men's and women's football is also very different, and there's a uniqueness to the women's game that we need to try and foster and keep as we continue on this upward trajectory. Through the programme, we've also been privileged to go to different sports at elite level, such as Olympic teams, and tap into some of the good practice that we see there and that we can transfer into our environment, as, you know, we're trying to ensure that we are the best we can be to perform at this level and beyond.
So you're creating that high performance environment, which is really good to hear, and certainly, you know, obviously the whole club being behind the lasses is brilliant. It's what I think fans have wanted to see for many years, and to see it coming into fruition over the last couple of seasons has been amazing. But obviously this season it's more competitive than ever in the Championship. It hasn't necessarily all gone our way, but there have been some really good things. So what's pleased you most about the season so far?
I think we've always been in games. The win against Palace was obviously a highlight. Everything we thought would happen in that game happened. So that was a big positive, and we're trying to build on that each week. We know the challenges we're up against, but the one thing that we've had last year and this year is the togetherness within the group, and, you know, we stick together, and we're on to the next challenge already for this weekend. And, you know, we've had some really good passages of play. We've just got to find that consistency and that rhythm that I spoke about to then impact the league and higher up than where we are currently, because that's where we want to be. We want to improve, and that's what we aim to do and be the best that we can be each week.
And obviously we've not scored in 4 out of our 7 games this season. I think last season as well, scoring was a challenge, which it is at this level where the defences are really, really good. But Mel spoke about struggling to get up the pitch against London City, who, you know, we've seen over the last couple of seasons just a very strong team. But is this currently like a focus for you in training and preparation, in trying to create more and be stronger in the final third?
Yeah, I think it always is. I think ultimately the game is to stop one team scoring one end and to score more than the other, you know. But if you look at the teams that we haven't scored against, you're talking about Liverpool, who it was a 1-0, you know, last night they put loads past Leicester. You're talking about Bristol, who again, Palace conceded more than us. We were very much in that game, and we had a couple of chances that, yeah, we should do better with. Same with London City. It's a deflected goal. That kind of changes the game a little bit. We've had a good chance in the first half that we don't put away from a set piece, and, you know, the Birmingham game I'd rather not remember in some aspects. But again, we've had a chance in the first half that could have levelled it, and goals change games, and I think we've not really had that luck or that little bit of decisiveness within the final third, but every week we incorporate ways in which we can score against the opposition. We look at that really in depth, and I think the week before in Palace, London City and Palace play very similarly. And last week against Palace, some of the things came off. Those passes found their ways in the final third, and against London City they didn't. And we've just got to then go and analyse that and go and be better the next time, and that's what we're hoping to do. Sometimes it depends what the opposition are doing as well. Ultimately, they're going to do everything in their power to stop you, and we've got to find ways, and we're going to try and unlock them, and we'll keep doing that. And it's something the girls have been working really hard on, and we'll continue to do.
And obviously, there's always two teams on the pitch, isn't there? And there's always, the opposition are trying as hard as we are to win. I think the majority of the clubs in the Women's Championship are now full-time squads, just about. And we've played most of them already this season. And we're yet to play another part-time team, although we've got some coming up. I'm very excited about it. It must make it more difficult, and we were wondering how difficult it has been for you to compete against more regularly against teams that are full time this season than say last season.
I think we run as close to full time as we can within our means. Mm-hmm. Some weeks we're in 5 days out of 7, and wow. Players are going to work, so it's one of them where you do as much as you can, and we look at the loading of our sessions, we analyse opposition, our prep work, we're very meticulous with to best prepare the group as we possibly can, but ultimately our biggest challenge is recovery. And being ready to go again is that challenge that the players then have with having to juggle this with work. But we manage, and I think we've been competitive both physically, technically and tactically in all the games that we've been in. And it's been fine margins. And ultimately, as a group, we always try and stick together and we look at our own behaviours and our own values. And ultimately, the players enjoy that challenge of coming up against full-time opposition. And for me personally, because it's that known challenge, we've got to be using everything that we can within our power. So making things like Eppleton a fortress of noise. So when we need that extra burst of energy, the players can find it. And when we've got the opposition against the ropes, as it were, if we talk about the boxing the other week, when they're up against the ropes, let's make sure we punish them, and actually that we get ahead, and we're ahead more than one, so that they feel like they can't come back. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge for now, but everyone loves an underdog, don't they? So
yeah, definitely. And another challenging thing that we always have to cope with as a club, it seems, men's side, women's side, is injuries. We've been missing captain Kira Ramshaw for the last couple of games, and we had Neve with a broken nose at the end of last game, which everyone was really worried about, and kind of a little bit, I know it isn't a silver lining, but I think I wrote that it was the silver lining for the weekend that the news came out that it was only a broken nose and nothing a bit more serious. How has it been for you and Mel and the squad coping with some of those injuries? And first of all, how's Neve's nose? And is any chance she'll be on the bus down to Southampton?
Yeah, there's a very high chance.
Oh, brilliant!
I don't want to give too much away. They're unfortunate parts of the game. It's a contact sport, and we all know what we're going into when we go and play football. And they've been integral to our group last season, this season, along with Faye and Hutchie and Abby. Mm-hmm. They're invaluable in everything that we do, because we do things collectively as a group, and every team has to manage those moments. And we're doing that, and it means others get opportunities, and they've then got to keep the shirt. And I think it's just part of the game. You when you get to that level, you just manage the people. That's the bit for me, that the people are okay in those moments, and we get them back as quickly and healthily as possible, really. Yeah,
it is, and it's good to know that Neve might well be on the bus as well, and obviously we hope everyone else is making a speedy recovery from their knocks and longer term injuries as well. This ACL issue is something I think we're going to look a little bit more deeply into for Rugby Report over the next few weeks, because it seems to be ubiquitous across the whole game at the minute. So many players losing so much time, especially early on in their career. But looking ahead to the weekend trip to Southampton, obviously they've had a storming start to the season, a little bit similar to how we started last season in that sense, and coming up and being promoted team and really taking the league by storm to a certain extent. What do you expect to be the biggest challenges that Marianne Spacey Kale's side will pose you on Sunday?
I think the journey is the challenge to start with. Obviously, we're again...
It's a long way, isn't it?
Going the length and breadth of the country. I think we spoke about it, we're near enough in France.
Yeah.
But it's one of them things that actually, when we're together, you get to learn about people, and that social side is huge, and I'm a really big believer in that. Everywhere I've been, the connections with people and the relationships you're able to build, and that trust can come from those journeys. And we spend a lot of time together as a group, and we have little things that we do to kind of make us closer and tighter knit. But I think apart from the journey, they've obviously been really organised. She's a very experienced coach with a wealth and breadth of knowledge with the game. They set up pretty much the same in most games. They've got a threat, but again, every team has their weaknesses, and we hope that we can exploit those, and the girls punish them in the moments that we need to when we haven't been able to in the past few games. But we'll be ready, and we're very excited for the next few games that we've got, and hopefully we can build that momentum and rhythm as we go into the Christmas break. Yeah,
those journeys, team bus journeys, I think it was told a story last year by Jen O'Neill of She Kicks and former Sunderland about a quite legendary trip down to Southampton to play the other Southampton Women's Football Club back in the early 90s, which was somewhat of a party that the original Sunderland FC women's team had. But just one kind of final question for you. Obviously, one of the big changes at the club in the last few months really is the establishment of the under-23 squad, and it's something that my colleagues here at Rugby Report have been following really closely and attending games and been really, really impressed by some of the players on show there. What do you think about that kind of great start that they've had to their Durham County League, and are there any players in that squad that you and Mel have identified as potentially going to be able to make that step up this year or in coming years?
I think first and foremost the setting up of that team is vital to everything that we do moving forward, and the growth that we want to sustain ourselves within the championship and beyond. So setting that up in the first place has been massive, and I've really enjoyed being a part of that process, and the people that we've brought in have been great. They're obviously performing very well at the moment in their first competitive season as a team. There's still a lot of work to do. It's nowhere near the final product, but we're always monitoring their progress, and we've got some of the players in with training with us in times, and Mel's always a big believer of giving people opportunities, and if those opportunities arise, then hopefully the girls will take them.
It is an exciting time for the club. It's going to be a fun few weeks in November and December. After we've played Southampton, we've got some very, very winnable games at Blackburn and Coventry and Lewis as well. And so we wish you the very best luck in the upcoming period. Have you got training tonight?
Yes. We'll kick off in an hour with analysis and then in for the session.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Rich.
It was really great to hear from STEPH LIBBEY there. Some really interesting answers to the questions set by the Rugby Report team. Great to hear that Niamh Heron may well be on the bus this weekend. So obviously down at Southampton, they've got a good fan base and a good record of women's football at the minute. And we were delighted to be joined for the second part of this podcast by Jude from the All Saints podcast. And here is the conversation that I recorded with her earlier this week. You must be really pleased with the amazing start to the FA Women's Championship season that Southampton FC women have had. I say that very carefully because obviously there's Southampton Women's FC as well, which we can talk about. But how's the start of the season anyway?
I think we're doing all right. It's quite interesting to hear you say that it's going really well. No one else has said that to us. I think a lot of other people are like, oh, you're new up and you're it's not going to keep on lasting. Yeah, it's quite nice seeing this kind of creep up the table. I'm not going to lie. Considering also that it's like a totally new league and every game it's difficult. you can see the girls really kind of giving their all, and it's tough out there. But yeah, I think we're doing okay at the moment.
When I was previewing the season, I just pulled up the article I wrote for Oak Report and said that it should be a big leap up in quality as a promoted side, but they're a full-time professional team with Premier League money in the background and Premier League facilities. They made it to Tier 2 the hard way through the National League playoff and have signed league legend Katie Wilkinson from Ayling Coventry United. I expect them to do more than consolidate. They're the dark horses of this division. They could shock some of the big names and established sides. So probably should put some money on it, really, because the results have been, I think, like really, really impressive. I think going away to, did you go away to Bristol City and came away with a draw?
Did. Yeah.
I mean, that's an amazing achievement.
Yeah. They won't have it, but yeah, it is. I'm quite impressed with that.
Oh, because that does that count as a rivalry?
No.
With Bristol City?
No. There is only one rivalry in this town. That is Portsmouth. It will always be Portsmouth. There is no other. I mean, Bournemouth try, but nah, we're not having it.
Yeah, we're a bit the same with Borough.
Yeah, I bet.
They think us as their rivals. We really don't care about them.
No, I bet it's all about Magpies for you, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although not in women's football, really, it's Durham.
Really? Yes. Yeah. I think they're another dark horse as well, or not dark horse because they're not the unknown. They're looking pretty good, I think, as well. I don't know what you think on that one.
They've had a bit of a tough start to the season, really. Obviously they had us first up, and we managed to get a draw.
Yeah.
They've not been doing amazingly. They were, I think, expecting to do much better, but they've gone professional this season. We've picked up some of their players who didn't want to go pro.
Oh, right.
That's the thing I wanted to talk to you about, really, is how much do you think that the kind of the professional setup that Southampton have got sits behind your very competitive start to the season in terms of being able to cope with the likes of Bristol City, etc.?
I do know from talking to the goalkeeper's mum that they were coming home from the first week of training of the start of the new season, or, in pre-season, that they were coming home knackered, literally coming home, scoffing something, and then falling into bed, and then going again the next day. So I think it was a bit of a shock to begin with. I think it's starting to bear fruit, though. Mm-hmm. Saying that, though, I think the first 2 games, the team themselves were sort of suffering from, we're in a new league, and we've got to respect these guys. And that was impeding them. We weren't playing our game. And I think the turnaround was definitely the Lewis game, when we came out and we got the 2 goals to draw the game. And since then, we've been a lot better at how we've been playing, I think.
Some of the results have been great, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got, 3 wins so far out of 6? Is that right?
Yeah, 3 wins. Crystal Palace, Sheffield and Birmingham. Yeah. When you kind of sort of say it like that, it's like, oh, actually, it's not too bad, is it? From our point of view, and I know this is going to sound really crazy, yeah, we're just enjoying the journey. We haven't set any, for the fans, we haven't set any expectations, but I know what the club's ambitions are, and they'll be happy. They'll be really happy with how it started, I would say.
That's good to hear. I mean, we had a similar start last season when we were the newly promoted side.
Yep.
I think we had a bit of a flying start. We won our first 2 games and then kind of reality hit. But you've got some really good players in the side. Obviously, you signed Katie Wilkinson. She's not scored for you yet, has she?
She hasn't, no, but you do feel that when she gets one, the floodgates will open. But her hold-up play is amazing. Yeah, she should have scored against Birmingham last week. But yeah, it's coming. She's getting closer. Yeah, as you pointed out in your pod this week, we're not prolific. It has been 1-0 wins, which has been great, or we've been, scored the goal against Bristol to get that draw. Yeah, we need some more goals in the side. I'd agree with that, but at the same time, it does show that we can score and then hold on to a lead. So I'm not going to argue there.
Definitely. I mean, a 1-0 win is 3 points, the same as a 3-0. And you've got some exciting young players as well. I mean, the player who stood out when I was just looking through your squad was Lucia Kendall, who has scored for you this season.
She has.
She's only 18, is that right?
Yeah. Lucia, she was a bit of a she is our star girl. She was brilliant last season. I think She didn't quite get top scorer. That went to Ella Pusey, but she was up there. Yeah, she's brilliant. She can kind of play anywhere on the park as well, so you just don't know when Marianne sets the team up. But she's just come back from injury, which is why we haven't really seen her much this season already. She got 20 minutes against Birmingham and then got 45 on Sunday against Sheffield. And on Sunday you could see that she was a little bit off the pace. She was a little bit not match fit. So we'll see what happens on Sunday with you guys as to whether she'll start. But even if she comes on and as a sub, she'll add something at some point. She's capable. We've also got the likes of Millie Mott, who's on the right hand side. She's brilliant. She's a little power box. She can run down the wing. She's great at clearing on the line as well. And then there's Megan Collette on the other side, who is only 17. I think she only just turned 17 at the start of the season. Sorry, that's Doug. Does like to make himself known. And we've also got Ella Morris, who she's just turned 20. And she's the one who provided the assist on Sunday. And she also scored the first goal in the championship against... Sorry. Dougie.
Oh no, we're used to having dogs on Roker Report.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
Dogs on Roker Report is almost a meme, really. Our editor Gav, his dogs are constantly featuring on our podcasts, and my little one Roker is just climbing up to come and say hello to us now as well.
Oh, is that what you call him?
It's just
Roker.
Yeah, he's called Roker.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah. Love it.
Which, when he's running on the beach when we go up to Sunderland, is quite funny because we're at Roker and we're shouting Roker, and it's like a little bit weird. But anyway,
so what is Roker then?
He's a jackapoo.
Okay.
He's a jackapoo with an itch at the minute, so we're gonna have to get that seen too.
Bless you.
Definitely. So you've got these youngsters, and obviously Southampton are almost renowned as a football club for developing young footballers. Is that kind of that developmental model something that is carried over into the women's setup? Because the women's setup's really new, isn't it? It's like 2017-18, is it?
Yeah, so we're 5 years old. We've come up from Tier 7, all the way through the Hampshire Leagues, all the way through the National Leagues. And up until last season, we'd only lost one game, which was against Ipswich at home, which happened back in November 21. And it was like the turning point. The girls just didn't want to feel that again, and it kind of kick-started the rest of the season. Well, not kick-started the rest of the season. It just carried us until the playoff where we beat Wolves.
That must have been fantastic. I mean, that was the same day that Sunderland men got promoted out of League One.
Yes, I remember.
We were at Wembley when you were at Stockport, is it?
Stockport. A little bit different in the venues, but you know.
Yeah, but the same feeling. You must have been absolutely made up, especially having, the squad having come up through the tiers almost organically, obviously with the support of a professional men's club behind. But that must have been a real celebration.
Oh, it was fantastic. I lost my voice. I had to go to Leicester the next day, and I did a radio interview for Wessex Radio, and they could barely hear me, but I managed it. I didn't get it back until like the Saturday after, I don't think. So yeah, a week of no voice, but worth it. Absolutely worth it. They were brilliant. They were absolutely fantastic. We had a great time, and the goal that was scored was just a peach. And that's another player who we haven't even seen this season yet. She's been out injured. Sophia Farah. Yeah, Not sure when she's back, but yeah, hopefully she'll be back soon. But yeah, we definitely are looking to the development side. We've got players coming through. At the moment, the dev team are currently top of their table. They've beaten everybody, and not just by like one goal. It's been by 5 goals, 4 goals, 10 goals. Yeah, crazy stuff that they're doing. Yeah. Oh, and at the moment, actually, you can watch a documentary on CBBC at 5:30, or even on iPlayer. It's about the Football Academy, and it's centred on Southampton. Yeah, so have a little watch of that, and you'll see kind of what's going on at Southampton.
That's brilliant. And the setup there, from all accounts, from the people I know in and around women's football, the setup behind the scenes at Southampton seems to be really, really professional. A large amount of people involved supporting Marianne Spacey-Cale. Do you think that's kind of the underlying reason behind the meteoric rise, is just the resources that Southampton FC have put in?
they've gone for it. They've definitely gone for it. I mean, in the first season, for the first 3 seasons, it was $1 million a year that they were putting into it.
Wow.
Now, obviously, a lot of that went on Marianne, or not a lot, but you know what I mean. Her salary came into it. We've got our general manager Martina. We've got Laura Bowen, who is the sports scientist and physio who looks after the girls. We've got a quality goalkeeping coach in Will Britt, and Lauren Phillips is our assistant manager, who has been with Arsenal and I think West Ham. Yeah, she's phenomenal as well. Yeah, I'd definitely say that Marianne's had a brilliant team around her, and it's not just Marianne, but Marianne's got such a drive. She really has. I cheekily asked her at the fans forum, you know, if she had ideas about going and managing England. She's like, no, I'm fully on board to get this team where it needs to be. So I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, exciting.
She's got great pedigree, obviously, as
she really does.
90-odd caps. Then she was I think she was with Fulham and was in the Arsenal setup, and then was Mark Sampson's assistant as well. So you've got probably one of the top-rated coaches in the country. Who and how long has she been with you now?
So she joined us in 2018. So she's been with us for 4 years.
Right, so she's come all the way through.
Oh yeah. Wow. Southampton had a plan, and she was integral to that, and she's been the driving force. I mean, not just her, obviously, but you know, she's been allowed to grow the sides, grow the team, grow the development, how they play. Yeah, we're playing to her tune, but she's wanting it. This is her plan, and at the moment, it's going okay.
It's amazing to hear, really, and touched on it at the beginning, really, but like Southampton as a city has got a much longer history in women's football, going back right to when the ban was lifted. Obviously, Southampton Women's FC set up by your fans, National League South Division 1, is that right? They play?
Yeah, they are now, yeah. And
obviously 8 times FA Cup winners in the 70s and 80s. So there's that big pedigree. And I remember talking to Jen O'Neill from She Kicks when she played for Sunderland. Their biggest game when she was a youngster was getting drawn against Southampton in the FA Cup and going down on the bus in the kind of the early 90s when we were starting out. And obviously you had the Euros at St Mary's
in the summer, yeah,
which must have been amazing as well. So do you think like that background and that pedigree has also been kind of part of why Southampton been so successful, including like, I mean, your crowds are like brilliant, even compared to ourselves, getting probably 50% more people through the gates than we do. So is that kind of hinterland in the city, is that actually an important part of the whole setup and the whole way that Southampton FC women have managed to come through?
See, when we started last season, we had about 200, 300 audience.
Wow.
Yeah. So it grew it definitely grew through the season. I think the biggest crowd we had about 1,800 for the Ipswich game. But that was like a family day, so it kind of brought more in, and then we lost. So it was like, oh, shucks. You know, hoping to have those people come back, and but that was fine because we were still playing it at Tottenham. And I think our last game at Tottenham, when we played Oxford, we got over 500, which was pretty good. Then we played we did play Pompey as the second game that we played at St Mary's last year, and obviously it's Pompey, and then we got like 5,500.
Wow.
Yeah, which was really good, and we also won the league that night. So I think that really did help. They definitely chose the best games to play at St Mary's. When we played Bristol back in January, we got 3,300. Our starting gate this year was 2,440, which was really good at St Mary's. Then we played Birmingham Tottenham again, and that was 1,000. And I think we could have been more that night if we had allowed people to pay on the gate to turn up. But because we'd sold so many season tickets, and because Tottenham can't hold that many, they kind of said it was a sellout when we actually got 1,024. It'll be interesting to see what we get on Sunday. Obviously, the fact that we've had such a good start, hopefully should entice people to come in. I know there's a lot of people who are going, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to come along. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely the Euros helped. I know people who I didn't even liked football, and they've bought a season ticket. I'm really proud of the club for latching onto it and just saying, right, okay, your home games, you are Southampton, you are part of this club, you are our first team. The matches are going to be played at St Mary's. I think hats off to them. It's tricky because obviously we were like a 32,000 seater stadium, and only having one side open. It would be great if we could build on that 2,400 from the first game. Definitely.
That's way above our record attendance, whether at the Stadium of Light or at Eppleton.
So how are you doing?
Well, we had 770 last Sunday at Eppleton, and Eppleton it's a non-league football ground, to be frank. So it's not the facilities there are not amazing. You're talking about going inside the sports centre to get some chips, and that's the catering, and there's a lot of standing, and it's not the most accessible place. It's on the outskirts of the city.
Okay.
So it's not right in the middle of town. So, there's lots of reasons why we don't get a great attendance, but then when we did a double header at the Stadium of Light, where
I saw that.
Where obviously Sunderland played Norwich, there was 39,000. The men's there was 39,000. Then there was 700-800 left in the ground a couple of hours later when the women played. It was absolutely gutting, and our general manager Alex, we spoke to him and he admitted that they didn't get that right. But our crowds have not built in as yours have, and there's lots of reasons behind it as well. There's a lot of people who switched off after Sunderland were demoted out of the WSL. That kind of the abandonment by both the FA and the owners of the club. At that point, there were lots of people who'd loyally stuck with them for many years.
Oh, really?
And then obviously we were demoted, and along with Yeovil, and then obviously Tottenham and Man United were put into the WSL structures without necessarily having gained that through footballing merit. It was a financial thing, and we had to fight our way back up from the national leagues like yourself. We didn't go through the playoff. It was done because it was through COVID, so we had 2 cancelled COVID seasons.
Yeah.
What they did was, with ourselves and Watford, we had the best record over the 2 years that were cancelled, and our applications were the ones that the WSL took. But they were kind of on merit, but obviously it's 2 reasonably big men's professional teams behind them who did commit the resources at that point. And from there we've been building really. We're building now some of the infrastructure that sounds like that you've got, in terms of just recruiting a specialist goalkeeping coach, our manager and now assistant manager, Steph, who we've heard from earlier on this pod, are now both full-time, even though the players are still part-time and training on an evening. And they're bringing in more people to run the commercial and the marketing side as well. So hopefully, with all of that in place, we'll be able to kind of catch up with some of the stuff you've got going on at Southampton. And if any of our fans do come down to St Mary's on Sunday, there's some special stuff planned, isn't it?
There is. We've got the Euros trophy.
Amazing.
Woo-hoo. I cheekily put out a tweet to Jill Scott. We're playing her team.
Well,
get her down.
But I think she's going to be in Australia because the jungle starts very soon. She's and I'm a celebrity.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll let her off then.
I don't watch it, but I might this time. I might just watch it because you know she's going to win. She'll be the most competitive person. She will do anything. She will eat whatever kangaroos, gonads are put in front of her,
absolutely.
I'm sure.
And she's an absolute character, isn't she? She's brilliant.
Yeah.
She is absolutely fantastic. She's a great lady. Yeah, it might make me watch as well, actually. Yeah, watch this space. I don't normally. I'm not into my reality TV and that kind of thing. What else are we doing? Oh, yeah, we've got loads of kids things going on. We always do. We've got a new DJ, apparently. That could be interesting. Oh, cool. I hope he's good, though, because we've had the likes of Chelsea, and so Chelsea at half-time, they were playing things like Money, Money, Money. When we have Man United, it's a load of Oasis songs. When who was it? It was really funny. When we had West Ham, it was about Love Cats. It was just all about cats. yeah, we take the absolute mick when it comes to half time with who we're playing. Oh, and when we've had Tottenham, we play every single version of "Oh When the Saints." It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, of course,
because it's awesome.
They've nicked that one, haven't they? Well,
who's heard of "Oh When the Spurs"?
So if they want some music recommendations, I'm sure we could put some
it's such a dirge.
We've got our theme music's by Big Fat Big, who are a up and coming Sunderland band. So maybe they'll look at that as well. Oh, they're really, really good, and they're big football fans as well. And they were down at Eppleton earlier in the season for one of our games, just cheering us on as well. Really talented young women.
Oh, brilliant! That's what you need.
Obviously, we've got Kaniki and all that, and Frankie and the Heartstrings. Obviously, Frankie is the club's podcast presenter. So a lot big links with the Sunderland music scene at Sunderland as well. So lots of options there for your DJ.
Okay.
But I love that idea that they make it like a family day. And that's one thing we wanted for that double header.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were talking about it,
I bet
we said on our podcast, what they need to do is keep people at the ground, have stuff going on after the game, have football games and food deals and drink deals and whatever.
In the concourse.
And unfortunately, I think the task was just a little bit much, and I think our club could probably learn from Southampton. And this is the thing I picked up from your podcast that I listened to earlier this week, was that the atmosphere at your Tottenham ground seems to be one of the major plus points from playing there. From what you know, do the women's players enjoy the atmosphere at Tottenham more than maybe the kind of the reverberation around the big stadium at St Mary's?
Yeah, we're trying really hard to come up with new chants and songs for them, which a lot of them are embarrassed about. But hey, it's got to be done. I definitely think that we as supporters, we need more people to join in, bring that noise. There's like at the moment there's about 20 of us who probably sing. And so therefore when you're at Tottenham, you can dot yourselves around the ground, and therefore you can get going, you can start singing, and you'll have other people on the other side and they'll sing as well. So it feels like it's a better atmosphere in that regard. But we've kind of made ourselves known when we've been to other grounds this season. And it's weird, isn't it? You go to a men's game, and it's definitely at home. I sit in the noisy end. I used to sit in the quiet end, and I couldn't shut up, so I got used to get stared at, and it's like, you can't do that. Well, this is the silent area end. So I moved. I'm now in the noisy end, and I sing my little heart out every match. When I go away with the men's, I'm singing constantly. So when it comes to the women, you kind of have that kind of quiet to begin with, just to see what's going on with the match. But we're quite good at kind of realising when they need us, and that's when we'll probably lift our voices and get them going. And they comment every match that they hear us. So I think they appreciate it. Definitely, I think they appreciate it. They may get embarrassed by what we're singing, but they appreciate it.
Because we don't really have singers amongst the women's regular supporters.
Oh right, okay.
Maybe it's something we need to develop, but we need. You've also got women's supporters group as well, haven't you? Which is another thing that we desperately need to develop, and the club's really keen on. It's just finding the people who live locally, who have got the time and the energy and the resources to pull that together, seems to be the main issue that we have.
So we've got our Twitter site. So we've got the Southampton FC Women's Supporters Group on Twitter, which is at SFC Women's Supporters Group. And then we've got All Saints Pod, which you've come across. We've also got our Facebook page, which is Southampton FC Women's Supporters Group. And that's where our community really is, because that's where we can, we chat to other supporters. We can promote the fact that we've got the games coming up. We can talk about the match that's just been and gone. We do our player of the match poll on our Facebook page. Yeah, we just kind of I wouldn't say we get together as a group. That would be great though if we did. We'll try that at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, that's our main focus, is probably the Facebook group. And we've got about 600 supporters in that.
Brilliant.
Which doesn't sound a lot, but yeah, it's growing every week.
No, that's great. I mean, again, maybe that's something that we can learn from, or as a supporter base. Hopefully, they'll be able to pull together a supporters group, especially with the new fan engagement officer. Just wanted to ask you, really, looking forward to Sunday. I've stopped asking people for predictions because it's not really fair. But I've got an alternative question that I use now, which is, what do you think would be an acceptable result for Southampton FC women on Sunday at St Mary's?
Ooh. Right, so my stock answer is whatever I said for Watford, which goes back to 2015 when Saints were playing and Fraser Forster came back into the side, and I couldn't remember what I predicted. So my stock answer is whatever I said for Watford. So that's my answer to you, whatever I said to Watford, because I have this really bad habit of going, I'll predict this, and then there's just the reverse happens. So I don't do that anymore, because literally every time, the opposite happens. So, and I can't. The other thing is I can't reverse it. I can't kind of like go, oh yeah, no, you're going to win like 2-0, and therefore we'll win 2-0, because it just doesn't work like that. So it's a case of whatever I said for Watford. Sorry, you can't drag me on that one.
I'm going to say that a score draw for Sunderland would be a really good result, given where you are in the league. And after this, we stop playing the series of games against the top sides in the division, who are all full-time professional, and we play some part-time teams coming up. So if we can come out of this one and gain a point, I think I'd be happy. I'm not sure Mel would, though, because she likes to go out trying to win every game.
Who's Mel? Sorry, that sounds really...
Mel Ray, our manager. Our long-standing manager and former player who's basically been running the show alongside her previous career coaching at Gateshead College, where she also used to coach alongside Jill Scott. You know, they had Demi Stokes back in the day, and brought through our crop of young players, including Niamh Heron, who got a broken nose on Sunday. We're not sure whether she's going to be back or not. But
oh my goodness!
Well, it looked worse than a broken nose when she was stretchered off with a neck in a neck brace. But thankfully,
I heard you talking about that.
Just a broken nose, and she's a tough cookie, and she's very combative, as they say. So I think a broken nose is probably par for the course. And she's only 19. She's an England under-19 international, and definitely one of the best players that we've produced in many years. But if she's not there, we're really going to be struggling, because we certainly were when she was injured earlier on in the season.
Okay.
But we've got some good footballers. We've got a mix of very experienced players, people like Abby Holmes, who've been around for a long time around this level, both with Sunderland and with Durham. And we've got Grace McCarthy, obviously used to play for Bristol City, has played Champions League level. We've got Brianna Westrup, who won the Women's Scottish Premier League last season.
Yep.
And was captain of the Rangers team that did that. So we've got a lot of experience, but we've also got some very bright, exciting young prospects too. So it should be a really, really fun game of football. And it's on the FA player for Sunderland fans who don't want to make the probably 700-mile round trip or aren't able to. It's on the FA player, so we'll be able to watch it.
I know it well. I went to the Newcastle game last year, men's team, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate going there. It's my third time of being there, and I broke my leg.
Oh my word!
I broke both the bones in my bottom on my lower right leg, and had to stay in the RVI for 8 days before I got brought home. Yeah, fun times.
You never know. Maybe one of our goalkeepers trapped you, because Alison Cowlin is a accident and emergency doctor in Newcastle. So I'm not sure if she's at the RVI. Maybe you saw her, but yeah, we've got a team full of teachers, firefighters, A&E doctors. So we've got a lot of players who've got very kind of demanding jobs outside of football as well. So every point they pick up at this level, especially against teams who are training, all day, every day, and can dedicate their entire time to the game, we just, we celebrate whatever we pick up at this level.
You definitely need some songs then. You definitely need some songs.
Yeah, and we'll set our listeners a challenge to come up with stuff. That would be great. So thanks, Jude, for this conversation, because I know we've been trying to get this recorded for the last day or so, and it's been really, really lovely to speak to you, and really wish you all the best for the rest of the season, apart from Sunday.
Good point. Absolutely, been brilliant speaking to you, and good luck for the rest of the season, and again, just not on Sunday.
So that was Jude from the All Saints podcast. Really brilliant to have a chat with her. So please do follow along on the FA Player. If you are based in Southern England, maybe you could go down to St Mary's as well. The tickets will still be on sale now. It's a 12 p.m. kickoff. And just before we go, we'd really love it if you would complete our reader and listener survey. It's out now. The link is in the description of this podcast. Whether you're listening on your podcast app or on YouTube, you'll be able to just look below this podcast and find the link to that. It'll take you 5-10 minutes, and it'll give you the chance to share what you think about what we do on Rugby Report in relation to Sunderland FC women and women's football in general, and suggest some ideas, and also give you the opportunity to get involved in what we do if that's something that you fancy. So thank you for listening, and check out all of our pre-match articles on the website, and we'll be back for Twitter Spaces early next week. Ta-ra.